word spoil is a flattering term and refers to someone like Princess Celebrant. Ah, well then, he said, walking back to his chair but not sitting. Why do you ask then? What did the word mean before I was born? It likely referenced a different princess, I'd imagine. He was sweating. He put the teapot back and regarded him uncomfortably shifting from one foot to another. He hadn't even noticed the extraneous comma in her sentence, the one she deliberately imagined being there. Professor, she said, did my father redefine a word on my behalf and ban the original usage? The professor emitted a low squeak from the back of his throat, as if he'd swallowed a mouse, or as if he'd been placed in an extremely uncomfortable situation, and now had to either lie to her face, with her knowing it, or betray the will of the king. She smiled and dismissed him, letting him scurry back away without having to say anything further. She sat, cup in hand, thoughtful. Then at long last came the moment, the one that should have happened when she was 13, the one she just nearly missed realizing some dozen times now. Princess Celebrant wondered if perhaps her family went a little too far at times. It was a little like wondering if the Ice Age was chilly, but it was a start. We'll do one more. I have like 5 chapters of this, but we'll only do 3. The next day, Princess Celebrant rose early and had precisely 3 minutes and 27 seconds to honor last night's epiphany. Then the day began. A quick meal of 3 pieces of fruit while dictating letters of comfort to the wives of men at war, each with as much personal touch as she could accomplish. Calisthenics next, with her 4 private trainers, followed by weights with 4 different trainers. The exercising took 2.5 hours collectively, with requisite laps in the pool for cardio. You might be angry at her father for requiring this rigorous schedule, but he wasn't to blame. Celebrant had spent her childhood in the hall of forefathers studying the portraits of princesses who had come before her, and had a certain idea of how they should look. Being Celebrant, she hadn't considered that the artist might have created the portraits with a certain flair for flattery. So in this, she had an image to chase that wasn't strictly impossible, but might be considered unrealistic, if she hadn't somehow exceeded it. Before this explanation, you might have been imagined her as soft. In this, perhaps I painted the wrong picture, so let me revise. Celebrant had the kind of flat stomach and toned muscles that people think is due to genetics, which I suppose is true, as the mindset required to relentlessly drive oneself toward peak physical conditioning certainly has some kind of genetic component. Celebrant's job might have been being beautiful, but she wasn't going to depend on that for lack of effort on her part. Hence the exercise regimen, where each morning she became a strawberry blonde tempest of activity. While no person should be forced to live up to such unrealistic expectations, Celebrant at least had a reasonably healthy interaction with it. And considering how spoiled in general she was, this was probably one of her more benign misunderstandings. Exercise was followed by a short bath, and then the next saw to her hair, which required daily brushing and conditioning. Simultaneously, her steward went over the day's appointments. In the case, she had a state dinner to host, which meant a need for a wardrobe selection. So before lunch, she spent 2 hours going through options with her royal stylist. The Menina gown was particularly stunning, the stylist noted as 2 assistants took out a remarkable red dress and draped it across the couch. Current trends are toward more daring highness, and Menina was extremely well regarded. Yes, Celebrant said, arms folded as she considered. Check the guest list. Is Lady Granita attending? The younger or the elder? The younger. Let's see. Yes, Highness. She's engaged to be wed as of last week, Celebrant said, and she loves Menina gowns. She'll be in one for certain, and it would be unseemly for me to show her up at such an important time in her life. Let's look for something a little less showy. We could go with the DeMarco, the stylist said, pointing for assistants to bring out a plain brown gown with ruffles on the wrists. Ashlyn, Celebrant said to the stylist, I said less showy, not funeral ready. Have you lost your senses? Ashlyn grinned. Well, you know how everyone imitates your fashion choices the week after an event? Imagine the panic as they all try to obtain dresses 3 decades out of style. Celebrant looked to her, then gave a hesitant smile, finally picking up on the humor. You'll have to forgive her. Celebrant wasn't dense. More, she'd spent her life in a low-density environment, and her brain had adapted.